What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be covering the new Ghoti archetype that was revealed in Power of the Elements, but because of Darkwing Blast, we've gotten a lot more cards that have given us the tools in order to make a working deck out of it. But before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this and would like to see more, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. So I'll start by mentioning how this is an archetype based on synchro summoning on your opponent's turn with water fish type monsters that can take advantage of the banished pile, as I read through the cards here to show you just that. Pacey's here reads, you can banish this card you control, special summon one fish monster from your hand except Pacey's. During the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, you can special summon this banished card. During your opponent's main phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can quick effect immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one fish synchro monster using this card you control. You can only use each effect of Pacey's once per turn. Schiff here reads that you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one fish monster you control. It gains 500 attack until the end of this turn. During the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, you can special summon this banished card. During your opponent's main phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can quick effect immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one fish synchro monster using this card you control. You can only use each effect of Shift once per turn. Finally, we have the field spell here, and the field spell has actually gotten a lot better because of the Darkwing Blast cards, as it reads, while you control a fish synchro monster, this card cannot be destroyed or banished by card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of this field spell once per turn. You can banish one fish monster from your hand or graveyard, so it's like a better Dragon's Ravine. Add one Ghoti monster from your deck to your hand. If a fish monster is normal or special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can target one fish monster you control, banish it, and if you do, add this card to your hand. So the effect that you'll be using the most here is the search one, though the graveyard effect one isn't bad in the grind game, and added protection is always nice. So to begin here, I'm going to start by activating the field spell here. I'm going to banish the Schiff, add myself the Ixeep, which is one of the new cards from Darkwing Blast, and it reads, if a fish monster is banished except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. During the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, you can target one of your Ghoti traps that is banished or in your graveyard. Set that target. You can only use each effect of Ixeep once per turn. As you can see, we added it on the same chain that a fish was banished as cost via the field spell, so this works like Astrograph, where now you can special summon it, and now we can normal summon the Pacey's, make the Serpent here, which takes one tuner plus one non-tuner monsters, and if this card is synchro summoned, you can banish one level 6 or lower fish monster from your deck. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target one fish monster in your graveyard, banish that target. Then you can add one fish monster with an equal or lower level from your deck to your hand, and you can only use each effects of Serpent once per turn, and I can't stress how big both of these effects are, as you'll see momentarily. So I'm going to use its effect here, which will allow me to banish another Pacey's, and I'm going to pass, and this may not look like much as the standby phase comes. I'm going to special summon back the Schiff and the Pacey's, and now from here, you'll see that the opponent is going to use the field spell. Now we can use the Shift to synchro summon. Doesn't really matter the order, as I'm going to synchro summon into Askin, which takes one tuner plus one non-tuner monsters. If this card is synchro summoned, you can target one fish monster you control and one card your opponent controls, banish them. If this card is banished, you can banish one fish monster from your graveyard, special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Askin once per turn, so this is kind of like a pseudo Yazi that you'll be using on your opponent's turn, along with being able to recur itself. And of course, you can also use it on your turn, as I'm going to use the Serpent Chainlink 1 and the Asken Chainlink 2. The Serpent will banish the Paces here, and this will grab you the follow-up with Princess to give you something to have for your turn. And now we can special summon back to Asken. The opponent normal summons the Paces, and we can chain our Paces here. Then go into Ghoti Beyond the Deep, which is the boss monster of the deck, and it takes 1 fish tuners plus 1 non-tuner monster. The original attack of this card becomes 500x the number of banished monsters. If this card is synchro summoned during your opponent's turn, you can banish all cards on the field. During the standby phase of the next turn, after this card was banished from the monster zone, you can special summon this banished card. So, of course, you want to be careful with when you use your disruptions. Don't just use them freely, as I have been, as I'm doing this for the video. But now that you've gotten a feel for how the deck works, I'm going to start taking you into some different combo lines. So this second combo here will feature Lifeless Leafish, and it reads, when this card is summoned, you can send 1 fish monster from your deck to the graveyard except Leafish. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 3 monsters or 3 fish monsters in your graveyard, shuffle those monsters into the deck, then draw 1 card. You can only use each effect of Leafish once per turn. So it's an Armageddon night for the deck, sort of. As you'll see, I'm going to start by normal summoning it, and from here we can send the Shift. And we're sending the Shift so that we can banish it, gain 500 attack here. And then on the opponent's turn, we can bring that back. And when your opponent happens to do something in which you can respond to or you want to respond to, you can chain the Shift here, go into your Serpent. The Serpent will banish the Zep here, which is another new card, and it reads, you can banish this card from your hand, then target 1 fish monster in your graveyard, banish it. During your opponent's turn, if this card is banished, you can special summon it. If this card is special summoned, you can, except during the damage step, immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon 1 fish synchro monster using this card you control. And you can only use each effect of Zep once per turn. It's important to note that this isn't like Shift or Paces. You do have to synchro summon when you special summon it. So I'm going to special summon it here now, as I'm also going to synchro summon with it into Asken, and this will allow us to get follow-up and the pop here. So this is what I wanted to show that you can do with just Leafish and providing it here in this video as an option. But now I'm going to take you on to the next 2 combos here that are going to take it up a notch, as you'll see momentarily. So in this specific hand here, you'll see that we're starting with Field Spell plus Princess. And we also have the Shift to banish. So we're going to activate the Field Spell, use its effect, banishing the Shift, which will allow us to add the Ixeep. The Ixeep can then special summon itself as we normal summon the Princess. The Princess will use its effect going into Paces. Now we can go into the Serpent here, which will banish the first level 6 I'm going to talk about, Shadow, and it reads, during the main phase, quick effect, you can banish 2 fish monsters from your hand and or graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can target 1 face-up card on the field, banish it when it leaves the field. If this card is banished, you can banish 1 fish monster from your graveyard, add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Shadow once per turn. And the cool thing about this is how it kind of turned into a hand trap, as it's a quick effect during the main phase. So it helps you play around stuff like Dark Ruler, which is important to note. And I'm going to banish the Paces off of its effect to add it back, and I'm going to pass here as the standby phase is going to roll around. We'll get back the Paces, we'll get back the Shift, and now as our opponent tries to play by activating the Field Spell, we can use the Paces, synchro summoning away into Asken, as we've seen previously, which now we can use the Askin Chainlink 2 and the Serpent Chainlink 1, as we get the add instead this time for Zep, and it's because we have the Shadow in hand, as I'm now going to use the Askin's effect to banish the Serpent and special summon itself back. Watch the opponent use Princess into Leafish, as Leafish is going to use its effect, and we're just going to shotgun the pseudo hand trap here, and then we can get Chainlink to the Shadow to make it so that if Shift leaves the field, it's banished instead, and then Chainlink 1, we can bring back the Zep. Then the Zep will use its effect here, which will allow us to go into the white Aura Whale, and from there the white Aura Whale will get its effect, and now I'm just chaining the Shift for video purposes, as this hand can't continue after white Aura pops this, but it's just to show that you have an extra layer of disruption and you have 2 extra cards in hand, while also only using water fish types throughout this entire playline. So now for the final combo, and this one will use the Coelacanth, or however you pronounce that thing, and I saved this one for last because it's also the nuttiest. So to begin, I'm going to use the Princess here, banish it in order to summon the Paces, and now I can use the Paces here, special summon the Coelacanth, which will allow me to discard one, and special summon 4 as I get Ixie, Paces, Shift, and the Princess. And I'm going to get these levels in specific because you want to make your Baron first in order to protect yourself from any possible disruptions. Then you're going to go into your Serpent, which will allow you to banish the Shadow, and the cool thing here is that you can banish the Paces, get it back, but then you can also use its effect immediately here to special summon it, as you got the resources into graveyard through Coelacanth, which now we can use the effect to make it so that it gets banished if it leaves the field. And then during the standby phase here, we'll get the Paces and the Shift back, and now we have 2 level 6s with 2 level 2 tuners, but you'll see that the opponent is going to normal summon Princess, special summon the Paces here, then we'll chain the Paces here, go into Askin, Chainlink 1 Serpent, Chainlink 2 Askin as seen previously, and from here we can grab ourselves the Zep, which then we can special summon back the Askin and chain the Shift here, which will go into Glowglim, and I'm just doing this for the video to show that you still have fuel to kind of go with this hand, but Glowglim reads, it takes 1 fish tuner plus 1 non-tuner monsters. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster. During your opponent's standby phase, you can banish this card. Then if all the monsters used as material for this card's synchro summon are in your graveyard, you can special summon all of them, but banish them when they leave the field. You can only use each effect of Glowglim once per turn. So a very interesting card, as it has combo implications on turn 1 with a going second effect, but as you see, we're going to keep on extending here, as we can special summon back the Shadow and the Zep because we banish it off the search of the Serpent. And now we're going to get another synchro here, which will get us into another disruption through the white Aura Whale. And all of that through protection of the Baron that you're given access to through Coelacanth. Now, onto the deck profile, and I do think that the deck profile has room for improvement. Ratios definitely still need to be tested, but I felt like this was a good skeleton deck to work with, as it provides you the plays that you kind of want to go into consistently through cards like Princess Prosperity being able to dig them, and Field Spell being able to search Ghotis, and then the Leafish here just feels like an easy 1-card starter to learn the deck a little bit. Some cards that I didn't read through here are Ghoti Fury. This is the only trap that I'm playing in the deck at all, and it reads you can target 1 fish monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls. Banish both monsters until your next standby phase. If a fish monster is special summoned to your field, While any card is banished, you can banish this card from your graveyard or face-up spell trap zone. All fish monsters you control currently gain 100 attack for each card currently banished until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of Fury once per turn. So unfortunately we do not have a synchro which allows us to set it and activate it on the turn it's set, which could be possible future support, but who knows. Then we have the Enoch here, and this I am not playing because I feel like playing Leafish is just better. If you have to normal summon, you don't have to tribute for Leafish, but this card reads, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one of your banished level 4 or lower fish monsters, special summon it in defense position, but negate its effects. You can ban one fish monster from your hand or face-up field, add one Ghoti trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Enoch once per turn, and again, this, even though it is a trap searcher, I don't think it's worth playing in my opinion, but I could be wrong. Then we have the Ghoti chain, which reads, banish one face-up fish monster you control, special summon one of your Ghoti monsters that is banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard with a different original name from the monster banished to activate this card, but banish it when it leaves the field, and you can only activate one chain per turn. And for the last of the Ghoti cards here, we have Ghoti Cosmos, and it reads, apply these effects in sequence based on the number of banished fish monsters. 1. Your fish monsters cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. 4+, the activation and effects of fish monsters, effects activated on your field cannot be negated this turn. 8+, special summon one fish synchro monster from your extra deck. This is treated as a synchro summon, and you can only activate one Cosmos per turn. So unfortunately, the really good effect here is flocked behind 8 banishes, while the one that takes 4+ is a little bit too slow. Even if you are synchro summoning through your opponent's turn, you kind of still do need the setup, and you are getting banished cards special summon to your field back. So that's important to note. And the 1+ effect, just self-explanatory on why it's not worth running over something like Fury, in which you can banish a fish and a monster your opponent controls and potentially profit from your banish. So now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, I'll go through the card by card. So we have 3 Princess, 3 Schiff, the 1 Zep, and there is only 1 because you're strictly using it on your opponent's turn. It's not something that you need to necessarily see. It's something that you would either banish with Serpent, or that you can add off of Serpent as seen earlier to banish off of the Shadow and synchro summon that way. But with how easily recurrable it is, as well as searchable, I don't feel like you need more than 1, but if you want to play 2, by all means. Then we have the 2 Leafish here, and I didn't want to play 3 more normal summons with the Princess, and I was playing 1 of this before along with 1 Enoch, but I ended up turning this into the 2nd Leafish because you could special summon 1 off of the Princess if you happen to open and normal summon a Leafish during your first turn. Then we have the 3 Paces, the 3 Coelcanths, and I'm playing 3 because you just want to see it. It can be a massive brick, especially with cards like Schiff, Opening Talents, and like mine. There's definitely hands that can be extremely unplayable in this deck, which is why I think it does need some work. But this video is just to give you something to start with. Then there's the 2 Shadows, and this feels just right, along with the 2 Leafish. The 3 Ixeep, no reason to play less in my opinion. You do want to see this in order to get the free body, since it's easy to banish fish monsters in this deck. And because it is a banished deck, we are playing the 3 Shifter Prosperity to get into your starters. The 1 Ghoti Fury, even though this is a flex spot, there is no real way to search this. So in theory, it could be a 3rd Leafish. having it in deck and just opening the one of can also be kind of nice, as it allows you to play through Dark Ruler along with the Shadow. Then there's the 3 Talents, and I feel like Talents is a card you definitely have to play in here, especially since Princess banishes for cost. There's certain choke points like Colcant's discard and stuff like that, that just having Talents to give you the extra draws or take monster to give you an extra material or whatever can just come up. And you do have the 3 field spell, and I think it's entirely worth to play the 3 field spell now, as all it takes is opening either Princess, Schiff, Zep, or Pacey's, banish with the field spell, get you into a body, while the Pacey's and Schiff allow you to get into synchro summons. The 3 mines are here because, as you can see, the Askin is able to pop itself along with a card on field. So, along with Ghoti with the Deep Beyond, or Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, you're able to clear your board quite easily, and you don't necessarily need to bring them back if you want to play the mine game. Realistically, it felt like to give this deck any type of viable shot, Shifter Mine was going to have to be the way. Then there's the 1 Metaverse along with the set rotation here to get into your field spells through an alternative way along with the terraforming. And then the 1 Called by the Grave to wrap up the main deck. For the extra deck, we have Access Code Unicorn, Masquerena. These are definitely flex spots. Things like Sprite Elf and Area can be played. Brind can get you into a level 2 into the graveyard, can be your Schiff. I don't know quite what you would want to go into by going that way. Then the 2 Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, and I will skip here saying that playing 2 Serpent, 2 Askins, and 2 of the Deep Beyond I think is correct, because these are your main plays of the deck. You can use them going first while also being good follow-up. And you have the Baron and the White Aura Bahamut, the extra targets, the Crocosaur as well. Guoglim, the White Aura are just 2 more fish level 8s to go along with Askin. I didn't want to play Dragite or anything else because I wanted fish, because it meant you can make them on your opponent's turn, and having White Aura Whale to be an extra disruption is pretty strong in my opinion. And then lastly, for the last level 6, we have the White Aura Dolphin. This can also be Bryonic, but having White Aura Dolphin is kind of cute as a stall method if you get into a whittled down game state. And for the last things I would like to talk about are Gozen and Rivalry. For the most part, you're using fish type monsters, and for basically everything besides your link plays, or if you make Baron, you're pretty much just using water monsters. So these cards are definitely options that you can consider in playing your deck, especially if the format calls for it. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.